All right, Chris, we have Coach Niemann here.
All right, good afternoon, Coach. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your time. The floor is yours. I'll let you open up with a couple statements, and then I'll throw it out to some questions.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if I've been introduced. Just to be sure everybody knows, I'm Yayha Niemann, Assistant D-line Coach and Defensive Recruiting Coordinator. Appreciate everybody making a couple minutes this afternoon to spend some time with us. It's been a great start to spring practice here. As most of you know, or all of you probably know, we didn't get this opportunity a year ago. So to be able to get out there on the field and do what we love to do with these guys has been great. Many of us, and I include myself in that process, weren't in spring practice ever at the University of Iowa. I know I've been through 2 seasons, but because of the pandemic last spring, I wasn't in spring practice, and a number of our young players in the program have never been through a spring ball either. So it's great to get out on the field and have a chance to work and to bring these guys along. We've got I think a great group of young guys to work with in the D-line. Some guys that are young, complemented with a few that have some veteran leadership and experience. But it's a great group of guys that come to work every day with a positive attitude and take the field with good energy. They're making progress, working hard, and excited about what this group can do here as we approach the midway point of spring ball. Practice number 8 is coming up tomorrow, and if we can kind of finish it off with 7 good ones or 8 more good ones, hopefully we'll be in a place that we're comfortable with and happy after the 15 are over with on May 1st. A lot of these guys, as you may know, were red shirts a year ago. So most of them, we maybe got 2 or 3 periods of fundamental work at the beginning of practice, and then they were off to the other end of the field to service our offense and, work scout team against our offense so that they get ready for the opposing defenses that we were getting ready for. So we didn't get a whole lot of practice time with them. So this is really and truly the first time that we're able to take the field and have those guys with us from start to finish. And so our main goal, our main objective is just to help them build a good fundamental base and get them ready to compete in the fall and to have them become more familiar with all the intricacies of the defense and their assignments, responsibilities, techniques, things of that nature. So assuming we can be where we want to be at the end of those 15 practices, we'll be anxious to get ready to look forward towards the challenges of the 21 season. So with that, I'll open it up to questions if anybody has something they'd like to ask.
Thank you, Coach. The first question this afternoon is from Scott Docterman.
Hey,
Yes,
Jay,
Scott.
How are you?
Good, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing well. You described, I think on signing day, Logan Jones as a rocked up dude. And I think his numbers have kind of shown that in the weight room. Also having such a gap in very few upperclassmen other than Zach Van Valkenburg, how important is it for Logan to move himself into that rotation, and what can he bring you as a unit?
Well, yes, it's important for him to try to make a push to improve throughout spring football and get himself in a position where he has a chance to contribute on fall Saturday afternoons for us. There's no doubt. Because he is mature beyond his years, so to speak, physically, that gives him an opportunity to go ahead and compete, versus other Big Ten players, where some guys who aren't as far along developmentally might not quite be ready for that yet. But, he's shown in the first several practices that we've had that a lot of the strengths and the things that the numbers that he's posted up in the weight room have been able to translate out onto the practice field. And again, whether you're talking about him, a guy like Ethan Herkett, Lucas Van Ness, Yayha Black, any of those guys, really the main challenge is just to get their fundamental bases brought up to speed so that, they're able to take their physical tools and use them to their ability.
The next question, Coach, is from Chad Leistico.
Yeah, sure, Chad.
Hi, Jay. You made a great point there. You haven't been in a spring practice either at Iowa. That's crazy to think about.
Spring practice rookie.
So how do you sift through? You got a lot of young guys. I mean, you only get 15 practices. What is your approach in kind of sifting through these guys and making sure that you're not missing something or that you're, giving everyone an equal chance? I mean, how do you approach that?
Well, they're all really getting about equal reps. We haven't sat down really and tallied it up, to be honest with you, but the way we rotate them in individual drills, for sure, I know everybody's getting equal reps. And I think that, if we went back and looked at what we've done in teamwork and what we've done in group work against the offensive line, I think all those reps are pretty balanced up. So I feel very comfortable in saying that, everybody's been on film and given adequate opportunities to show what they can do over 7 practices. And then I think the same will be true over the remaining 8.
Coach, the next question is from Leah Van.
Sure. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Coach. I'm Leah. I'm from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. I'm new, so nice to meet you.
Meet you.
And my question is, this is like the second straight season that y'all are replacing, almost like rebuilding the defensive line from scratch. Of course, you have one returning starter. I'm wondering what challenges come with that and how Iowa has been able to do it so successfully the past 2 seasons.
Well, I think it first comes down to recruiting philosophy. And if you've heard Kelvin Bell talk about it before, it's the same thing that you've probably heard Coach Ferentz or myself say. We don't really recruit defensive tackles or defensive ends. We just recruit defensive linemen. We look for guys that have the skill set that we're trying to find, whether we're evaluating games or watching film. And then, what determines whether they become ends or tackles really is based on the kind of growth and maturity that they go through physically. Some guys will start out as ends and then move inside to tackle or nose. Other guys will start outside and stay outside. Depending on the amount of weight their bodies and frames are able to accommodate. But there's that side of it. And then the other side of it is just really and truly having a system, which Coach Parker's had in place here for a long time, where we don't deviate a lot from year to year. So the guys, once they get into the system, they continue to hear the same types of things, the same coaching points, a lot of the same fundamentals, techniques, responsibilities, year after year after year. And so even though you may have a guy whose name is new to the lineup, he's been through a lot of the very same things in terms of his development of the guys who've been playing before him. And so it's a combination of those two things, I think, together that allow us to do what we do up front in the D-line.
What challenges come with replacing the defensive line?
Well, I think the unknown is really the only challenge. You've got to bring these guys along and just have trust and faith in them and our system. And you don't really know until you get to game time, exactly what's going to happen. But time has proven through the system and through the recruiting that if we just continue to do the things that we've done with developing these guys, that things will play out, in a way that's favorable for us. But, it's no different than any other set of challenges, I guess. You just have to be very dogmatic about your approach and very straightforward and recognize what those challenges are and deal with them head on.
Coach, the next question is from Tom Kakert.
Yeah.
Hey,
Tom.
Jay. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask you about a couple of guys. Yayha Black moving inside. Just kind of, I think Kirk said last year at the end of the year, sometimes he was playing a little too nice. Have you guys seen kind of more of an edge from him? And Ethan Herkett's name has come up a lot this spring. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, Yayha he's got a good demeanor about him. If you talk to him off the field, yeah, sure, he's a really nice guy, easy to talk to, very, very personable, all those types of things. But, when he puts his pads on and really gets down to business, he's got a good football demeanor about him. And I think we've seen some of that come out this spring. He is great length and great size. He's nearly 300 pounds right now, which is up from what he was obviously when he first came in here. So he's going to be a big, big guy before it's all said and done. And I think he's on a good path right now. And we just got to keep him moving that direction. So feel good about him. Ethan, as you mentioned, his name has been brought up a lot. Really hard-nosed guy, was a middle linebacker in high school, converted to defensive end when he came here, has put on some size and strength, and really has done a good job in spring practice thus far. Super locked in and focused kind of guy. I mean, when you tell him something, he's looking you dead in the eye and taking every word verbatim. And you can see day to day when you tell him to make a correction on a technique, the very next day he's out there doing everything within his power to make sure that he doesn't have to be told the same thing twice. Hard worker, very diligent, and off to a good start.
The next question, Coach, is from David Eichelt.
Sure.
Hey, Jay, hope
David.
you're doing well. John Wagoner, kind of an interesting story, cracked the two deep, started out as an edge guy, then moved inside, and you guys moved him back to the outside. What kind of went into the decision to move him to the outside? What have you seen from him this spring, and how much are you going to rely on him to kind of elevate his game as you guys get closer to the season?
Well, I think he's already begun that process of elevating his game. He's off to a good practice this spring. I think he realizes there's now a window of opportunity with some of the seniors from last year, upperclassmen being gone that were here before. And now it's up to him to seize the moment and take advantage of that. And I think that's what he's preparing himself to do. And we'll be ready to go, when we get to the season to take advantage of that opportunity. But he's a versatile guy. He's got the length and enough mobility to play outside, but he's also got enough size and strength to play inside. So, while most of his reps have been on the edge at end so far this spring, particularly in passing situations on third down and whatnot, I think there's still the potential for him to play inside if we need him to do that. But he's doing well. He's making good progress, and he's right up there with Zach Van Valkenburg, probably is one of the most consistent and steady guys that we've had so far this spring.
Coach, we'll circle back to Scott Docterman.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about Logan Lee. There seemed to be some excitement about him last year and whether he was inside or outside. How has he progressed? I know he's had some injuries. And do you see him as kind of a versatile guy that could play either spot, or is he settling down in inside or outside?
Well, he hasn't done a lot thus far because he's still in the recovery process, but he's very, very close to getting back out there. I'll let Coach Ferentz elaborate on any injury situations if you need more detail on that. But he's a lot like John Wagoner in terms of his frame and his versatility. Again, we've played him in both inside and outside positions. I think really where he winds up is going to be more dependent on him than anything else. In that, however the competition shakes out, where he's needed will be where he's at. I do think that he's got a ton of upside and a ton of potential. And if we can get him out in the practice field and get stack a bunch of practice days, much less practice weeks or months together, that there's a big ceiling and growth of improvement possible with Logan. And real hard working guy. I know he's going to give us everything he's got. And I think the sky's the limit for him. We just get him going.
Coach, we'll circle back to Leah Van.
Yeah, I was wondering if you have any individual players that you think are standing out to you right now in spring practice. I know we've mentioned a couple of names, but I wanted to know from your perspective, like who specifically has really stood out to you and why?
Well, it's tough to choose. I think everybody's given us a great effort, and that's really first and foremost. We just want guys to go out there and day in and day out, play with great energy and passion, and give us the best that they've got. And I think we're getting that type of effort out of the group. If I had to single out a guy, I guess it'd be Zach Van Valkenburg, just because of how he goes about it. He practices extremely hard, even though he had some accolades last year as far as the All Big Ten stuff goes. You wouldn't know that you would think he was coming in here with a chip on his shoulder and had a lot to prove. That's because that's just how he approaches it. But you're going to get the same thing out of him no matter what the circumstances are. He's been a great leader in our room and become a leader on the defense as well. Highly respected guy, and obviously showed a lot of production on the field last year and will be counted on to do so again. And I would, again, I hate to single anybody out because I think there's lots of other names that could be brought into the discussion, but if I had to pick one, that would be where I would start.
Coach, the next question is from Tom Kakert.
Jay, you've been doing this a long time. Part of your job is recruiting. This past year has been pretty challenging. How have you gone about trying to do good evaluation when you can't get into school to talk to anybody that you need to talk to? You can't get out to games. You can't have kids at camps. How have you gone about that, and how challenging has that been?
Well, it's challenging, I guess, for everybody, and that's if there is a saving grace in the whole process, that everybody's in the same boat as far as that goes, not only within the conference but nationwide. Not to have the opportunity to have some of these guys through your camps in June not to be able to go out and watch them play in their games on Friday night. You're really hamstrung with and limited to just really doing a lot of work on huddle and watching their game tapes and highlights, and then trying to get a hold of anybody and everybody that has valuable insight as to what you're trying to find out about the particular recruit, whoever it might be. But all you can do is what you can do and play by the rules and make the most of the situation with the information that you have at hand. Fortunately, last year, a lot of the guys that we ended up signing in the previous class as sophomores had already been through camp here and on campus. And so a lot of them had the exposure, and we had some of the FaceTime with them that you would like to have, even though we didn't get them in last year's camp. We got them 2 years ago in camp. So if we can get out of this cycle that we're in and get back on our track of being into camps in June and being able to go out and watch games this fall, we should be back on track and in pretty good shape. I think we could weather the storm. We did weather the storm fine for 1 year, but I'd hate to think that you'd have to do it 2 years in a row. That'd be really hard.
Coach, we're going to take one more question, and the final question will come from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Jay, I got kind of a two-parter here. I mean, it seems like every year we ask you or somebody else about how in God's green earth are you going to replace so-and-so. Last year, Epineza. Year before that was Anthony Nelson, and now you've got Davion Nixon. My first question is Noah Shannon that guy you're hoping to steps in and maybe doesn't have the physical skills that Davion has, but creates that kind of effort? And secondly is, where does Deontay Craig kind of stand on your in the lineup right now?
Sure. And Noah has had a really good start in spring practice. I've seen a change in him. Not that there was ever anything wrong with how he was before by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's elevated his game a notch or two, putting in super effort, leadership, production, quality of play, all those things. I think the needle's pointing for sure in the right direction with him. And to sit here and say that he could duplicate or be compared to Davion really isn't fair. We're not going to sit here and compare one guy versus the other. Everything's different about them, from size to skill set to whatever. But from within, Noah's frame and his capabilities and his talents and all those things, I think he's maximizing everything he's got and is really on a good path right now. And we're happy with the progress that he's making, and he's doing a really nice job. Deontay Craig has been playing in the whole time, and I don't see that changing unless injuries or something like that would force us to consider something else. But he is doing a really nice job as well. Again, I mentioned from the beginning that what we're trying to do with all these young guys is really build a good fundamental base and a foundation for them to work off of. Deontay's doing a good job. He's got some real knack in rushing the passer and is doing a good job with that. And, we got to bring along the run defense fundamentals right with that. And, he's making good progress in that area too. But like Ethan Herkett, he put on some good weight in the offseason, is stronger, he's bigger, he's a little more physical. And we just need to keep him on that continuum of growth and pointing that needle in a positive direction, which is he's had really 7 good practices and hopefully 8 more to go.
All right,
Thank
Coach,
you.
welcome to Spring Ball. Thanks for sharing your time today.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your coverage. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.